Hello everyone, in this week's video I'm drawing whatever the heck I want. It's been a while since I made a video in this series and I've been really wanting to do one again. It's nice to take a break from doing art that has to fit with a certain video idea and instead just drawing whatever I feel like. It's a bit more chill and allows me to play around with art and new supplies. I actually have a lot of new stuff I'll be trying today, like some new Ohuhu markers and a new sketchbook, even though I didn't finish my previous one yet, but we'll talk about that in a bit. First, I'll show you the markers I'll be using. Ohuhu has once again spoiled me with more of their markers, and I'm very excited to try them out because we have these very neat extra wide broad-tipped markers and a set of pastel markers. I love pastels, so I'm super excited to try these. I decided to take a look at the broad-tipped ones first since there are less of them. This line of Molokai markers all have a very broad nib, so you're able to cover a large area very easily. But also because of how the nib is shaped, you can fill in smaller areas with this edge or the point of the marker. I received 4 sets that each have 6 markers, a swatch chart, and some really nifty stickers that we'll talk about in a bit. There's the Sky Glass set, Halcyon Oasis, Gray Tones, and Tropical Vintage. At first I thought it was odd that the markers didn't have a color example on the cap. But then I learned about these stickers. You color them yourself using the marker and then you stick them to the cap. I think this is so cool. You can see the exact color directly on the cap of the marker. I think more marker sets should consider doing this. It's really neat. It's so convenient being able to see the exact color on the cap. And it kind of eliminates the need for a swatch chart. Next is the Honolulu 48 set of pastel colors. If you watch my videos often, you know I love pastels, and so a whole 48 set dedicated to them has me very excited. Plus these markers have a chisel nib and a brush nib. A lot of times with pastel marker sets, I find myself a bit disappointed because they aren't as pastel as I wanted. Like I want super pastel colors. Thankfully though, I wasn't disappointed with this set. I was very pleased because it has some colors that do give very light and pastel, but it also still has some variety in value by giving you some mid-tone colors as well. I feel like it's a very nice assortment. You get at least one very light color of each of the kind of main colors. I do feel like purple could have gotten a bit lighter, but it is fairly pastel. And I do like how it includes darker versions of the colors as well. And I'm saying darker, but they really aren't that dark. Just in comparison. So those are the markers, but I also mentioned I have a new sketchbook. Look how pretty it is. It's actually a notebook designed by Rinspirit Art here on YouTube. However, the pages are blank, so it can be used as a sketchbook. So enough about the supplies. Let's get into drawing whatever the heck I want. But, I actually don't know what I want to draw. So like I've done in the past, I'm pulling out my handy dandy wheel of random things. It has different categories of things I like. For example, Zelda, Super Mario, Haikyu, things like that. And funny enough, it landed on Haikyu. If you don't know, it's an anime series about volleyball. And it's one of my favorites and might be my favorite. And to help me decide what character to draw, I made another wheel that lists different teams in Haikyu. I love a lot of the characters, so it's really hard for me to pick just one. And it landed on Blue Castle. Oh boy. So I can only name like 2 characters from Blue Castle off the top of my head, being Oikawa and Iwa-chan. Okay, I don't even actually know his name. I only know the nickname Oikawa calls him. So yeah, I'm drawing Oikawa. I've never actually drawn him before, so this was a first. I'm sketching out my sketch with a magenta erasable color pencil. For my sketches that I plan to use markers with, I most often like to use a color that I feel like will blend nicely with the majority of the colors I'll be using. So in this case, since Oikawa has brown hair and a lighter skin tone, I thought magenta would least muddy the colors. I do erase a lot of my sketch and unnecessary lines later, but some of the color pencil still makes its way into the markers. So by using a pink instead of something like a blue or a green, it doesn't look weird if it blends into things like the skin tone color. If I use things like a blue, the skin will often look kind of dead, so I often like to use more warm colors. For the pose, I'm drawing him with his head in a 3/4 view, and he's kind of turning over his shoulder. I also decided to make him do a peace sign to make things feel more interesting, I guess. I don't know, it sounded better than just having him stand there. For most of the art pieces in this video, I'm keeping them really chill. I wasn't putting too much pressure on myself to make like my next great art piece or anything. I just wanted to chill out and draw some stuff while experimenting with supplies. For the facial expression, I went with a winky, smirky face. It seemed like a face Oikawa would make because he's kind of a flirt. Like I said, Haikyu is like my favorite anime. I love a lot of the characters and I'm looking forward to the movies that will finish adapting the manga. I'm still a bit sad we aren't getting more complete anime seasons, but at this point I'll take what I can get. It was kind of funny because when my sister, who is also a fan of Haikyu, saw that I drew Oikawa, she said, "Why would you willingly draw him?" She was very confused because she knows we both don't like Oikawa all that much. Oikawa fans, please don't get mad at me. He is a funny character and I do appreciate him as a character and I like his color scheme and design, but like for some reason both my sister and I don't like him all that much. For me, I think it's because he's always kind of mean to Kageyama, plus I'm just never a huge fan of flirty characters, I guess. But he does make me laugh a lot and I don't like hate him or anything. He's just never grown to be one of my favorites. I remember there was an episode in one of the later seasons that teased Oikawa appearing at the end of it, and the fandom was like freaking out, and I was over here like, oh cool, we haven't seen Oikawa in a long time. Anyways, back to the drawing. For the base color of the hair, I filled it with the hazelnut color from the Halcyon set and shaded it with the leather color from the same set. Like I mentioned, I like how the broad nib has a little edge and also comes to a point. It allows you to have a variety of filling larger areas but also smaller ones. Oikawa's hair color is actually overall closer to the color I used for the shading, but I wanted to go with a more pastel look, so I used the lighter brown more instead of the darker brown. I kind of just used the darker brown to add depth. I was a bit nervous to use marker in this notebook because the paper is on the thinner side since it is meant for taking notes. That's why I made sure to put the rubbery paper protector thing under my paper to keep the markers from going onto the next piece of paper. Because the paper is thin, I was worried about how much marker ink it would be able to handle. But to my surprise, it held up really well, and because the paper is smooth, it works great for markers, and they are able to lay down smoothly. I was also worried about the markers making the paper buckle, but that also didn't really happen, so yay. I might use markers in the sketchbook more often, because they do work really well in it. Also, for the back of his shirt, there should be like letters and numbers, but I didn't feel like pulling up a reference to figure out all of that stuff, so I left it blank for the most part. I did add the stripe detail, but that's it. Please excuse my laziness. Now that all the marker is in place, I clean up the details with color pencil. I used a mixture of different colors depending on what I was outlining. Sorry I'm not showing a ton of this footage, my hand kept getting in the way. I find it interesting that some people don't like when I use the wheel to decide what I want to draw. They say it's a drawing whatever the heck you want video, so just draw whatever the heck you want to draw. But like I've said, I can be indecisive and not know what I want to draw. And when I spend a super long time trying to think of something, I start to get frustrated and lose motivation. So in cases where I feel like I don't know what I want to draw, all I know is that I want to draw, I like to use the wheel to help me decide. Especially since it's choosing from things that I like anyways. Oh, side tangent, here I added some lines to make the background less empty, and also added the characters for Oikawa's name. Please pardon my writing, I did not know the stroke order for these characters. I only tried to replicate them the best I could. Anyways, back to the wheel. It also encourages me to try something a little different, or maybe make me draw something that I didn't know I would enjoy drawing. Like, I wouldn't have picked on my own to draw Oikawa, but it was actually a lot of fun and I enjoyed drawing him, especially since he's a character from Haikyu I haven't drawn before. Now this page is done and we can do another page. Let's see what the wheel gives me. This is the original character option, so now I need to go to the OC wheel and it will randomly pick an OC. I did add some of my new characters like Molokai and Azra that were created in a recent video, and to my surprise it picked Azra. So if you missed the video where I created Azra, she was a character I made for the Draw Your Monster challenge. She is a lizard monster that seems scary, but she's actually pretty harmless. Since I had just drawn a headshot of Oikawa, and I also drew a headshot for Azra's illustration, I felt like drawing a more full body pose of her. I was a bit nervous about doing this because all the details will get really tiny, but like I said, I'm keeping this kind of chill and just trying to have fun, so I pushed forward anyways. For the pose, I decided on a pose where Azra is kind of turned and her back is towards us. I wanted a pose that kind of showed off her tail. Her arms are going to be bent and the one is coming towards her face and the other is holding her spear. I'm going to be honest, this picture is probably my least favorite out of the ones I drew. I do overall like the concept and the pose, but the execution isn't the greatest. It was really hard to draw Azra's face at such a small scale. It was like the size of the tip of my pointer finger. At first I was trying to clean things up a bit more with a darker pencil, but that didn't seem to be working too well. It wasn't getting as dark as I wanted. So instead I started going in with marker and blocking out the shapes. And then I will outline things later with a fine liner. Also, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for all the support they showed my new characters. Many of you really liked Azra's design as well as Malakai's. Also, thanks to everyone who gave suggestions for Azra's eyes. For the challenge, I was supposed to make them teal, but I accidentally made them an orangey color instead. Many of you had this cool idea to make it so her eyes change colors depending on like her mood or the setting, and I thought that sounded really cool, so I will consider that. For this picture, her eyes are so tiny, it's not very noticeable, but I made them the orangey color. Like I mentioned, I started drawing in this notebook even though I haven't finished my other sketchbook yet. I'm kind of breaking a rule I have for myself. A lot of times I force myself to finish the sketchbook I'm currently working in before I move on to another, because or else I end up abandoning sketchbooks and I don't like doing that. If you watched my other videos that include my sketchbook, you'll know that my current one is a nature watercolor sketchbook. It's very nice and I love the paper, but because it is such a nice sketchbook, for some reason I keep feeling intimidated to draw in it. Like I don't want to waste the paper. But this has made it so it's taken me a really long time to finish the sketchbook because I feel like I'm being wasteful if I do quick derpy stuff in it. And it's kind of funny that I say this because I feel like a lot of the stuff I made in it isn't that amazing. And I feel like a lot of it is kind of simple. But I don't know, I just feel like my mindset has been weird for that sketchbook. And while Rinspirit Art opened up her online shop and had a ton of super pretty notebook designs, I thought they were so pretty, and my sister Reagan had one and I was a little jealous, so I also ordered one. When it arrived, I told myself I wouldn't start drawing in it until I finished my other sketchbook, but I had a moment of weakness and started drawing in it anyways. But I do promise I will finish my other one. I want to make a tour video of it. So yeah, I actually drew another page in it last night, and I do enjoy using watercolor in it. So yeah, I will make sure to finish the other sketchbook as well. For the line art, I'm gonna be honest, I got kinda lazy. I could have made it more fancy by using different colors for different parts, but like I mentioned, I already wasn't super in love with this picture, so I didn't feel like putting extra time into it, I guess, and I kinda just gave up a little bit. Although, oddly enough, I did start to like it more once I added the more finishing details. Like I added random splotches of color to the background with the large nipped marker, and then to add more depth, I used a light purple marker to add shadows over the existing colors. Oh, also, you may have noticed I decided to give Azra a shirt. In the other video, I kept going back and forth on it because it's not totally necessary. It kind of felt like how Celeste and Blathers in Animal Crossing don't wear clothes, but they kind of look like they do. It felt similar to that, but some viewers understandably thought it was indecent, so I gave her a shirt. Plus, I do like this outfit. It's one of the ones I sketched out in the video. So yeah. So here's my kind of derpy doodle of Azra. Like I said, I do like the concept, and I may try to do a more fleshed out version in the future. Okay, let's see what the wheel makes me draw last. So, I put this one on here kind of as a joke. The full thing says, think of something on your own, LOL. It seems the wheel has given up on me and I must decide for myself. Since I have drawn some fan art and an OC, I now felt like I wanted to maybe draw something that wasn't based on a pre-existing character. I wanted to be able to just kind of draw and not worry about getting details correct. I stared blankly at my sketchbook for a few minutes and then tried turning the book, and this sparked inspiration. Sometimes the simple things will give you ideas. My brain decided on a girl in side view with her hair blowing in the wind. It's a simple concept, but it's a concept. Oh, also, I want to make the hair have a cool gradient to it with the markers. Once again, I'm using an erasable color pencil, and I have to say I really like this pink. I thought I wouldn't because the color of it makes it look very fluorescent pink, but it's actually kind of a soft peach kind of pink, and I really like it. When I was showing it to my sister Reagan when I was working in my watercolor sketchbook, she was like, ooh, that looks like a good one to use with markers. And I'm like, that's what I originally used it for. So, I guess I'll talk a bit about what's going on in my life. Things overall are going well. Also a bit stressful. There have been a lot of big changes and stuff going on. Reagan had a foot surgery a while back and her foot is healing up nicely, thankfully. She got the cast off and is now wearing a boot for a while as it continues to heal. As you can see, I am now coloring. Like I mentioned, I wanted to make the hair be a gradient of colors. I made it start as a yellow, fade into an orange, and then into a pink. To make the gradient, I kept switching back and forth between all the colors, making sure to flick the marker to give it a kind of hair texture and also help it blend. I was also making sure to work fast and when the ink was wet so the colors would blend better. I'm starting to try to plan a wedding. Did you know weddings are very complicated? There are so many little things and details I didn't know about. I've only been to a handful of weddings and I was on the younger side when I went to them, so I didn't pay much attention to stuff. But I kind of wish I would have now. We have decided on wedding colors. Can you take a guess as to what colors we decided on? It's not like I choose the color combination all the time or anything. At first I was thinking of going with a dusty blue with a pop of yellow, mostly because I didn't know if my fiance would want to go with a super girly color scheme, but he didn't seem to be a big fan of the dusty blue with the yellow. So then I started showing him different color options that I had saved, and he actually really liked the peach and the mint color palettes. And so do I, so I wasn't going to argue with him. So yeah, for the color scheme I'm thinking peach, mint, gray, and then maybe pops of gold. In all the pictures I saw, I thought I looked pretty cute. Besides that, we haven't decided on much else. My mom plans to take me dress shopping soon. I feel like I often hear girls talking about their wedding and what kind of dress they want, and they seem to have a very clear idea of what they want. But I honestly have no clue what kind of dress I want. I feel like I'll go to the shop and just try on a whole bunch of styles just to get an idea of what I like or want. Because I honestly have no idea. Also, if you have any wedding planning tips, I'd love to hear them. I need all the help I can get. As usual with Ohuhu markers, I really enjoyed working with all these markers today. The Molokai series with the extra wide broad tip is a great variety of marker to have if you want to fill larger areas. And the pastel set didn't disappoint me and had some very lovely light colors. I really liked using them for this picture, and the colors I chose resulted in a very light feeling that I wanted. If you want to check out these marker sets for yourself, there are links in the description. Also, if you're looking for other artist YouTubers to watch, go check out Rin's channel. I really love using her notebook to draw in. Just looking at the book makes me feel inspired because it's so pretty. Rin makes really awesome videos and her art is beautiful, so go check her out. Like with my other pieces, I finished off this sketch with color pencil, added some little finishing touches, and now it's done. Being that this is something I had to just create on the spot, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. It is really great to be able to relax and make some art in my sketchbook. I say it every time, but I always really enjoy these drawing whatever I want videos. They are a nice change of pace from the usual. Oh, also, random side note, my channel's kind of getting on the algorithm's bad side again. So if you could give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, and do all those button pressy things YouTubers are always telling you to do, it would mean a lot to me and help out the channel a lot. And before we end, I want to say a big thank you to my wonderful YouTube members and Patreon patrons for their support. It means so much to me. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!